working groups in working group 2 was about cultural heritage. We had a workshop and many people were involved, and we also saw some other ongoing projects related to cultural heritage to collect current practices and some good examples of best efforts. I will show some highlights of this. Without going too much in detail, you can download the report from our website and read more of these examples. And these examples are by no means meant to be complete. There are many good examples for sure in many cities, but I think we recognize this as one of the, at least in many historic cities, an important driver for managing the subsurface. Because every city has its history, dependent on how old the city is. So you have a legacy over time. The really old cities, the historic cities have a cultural legacy. There's often a lot of archaeological heritage, monumental buildings in cities that has an intrinsic value in itself. So here we're also talking about ground having an intrinsic value, which is very important. In some countries, very strong legislation to keep it preserved. European legislation, obligatory to keep it preserved. Other cities have an industrial legacy, and of course then we have the modern development. And all this history has to be taken into account when you're managing your cities and the subsurface. So what about cultural heritage and the subsurface? Well, we have a lot of standing monuments. They are standing on something. They are standing on the ground. They have a foundation, and their maintenance it requires that you have knowledge about the subsurface and their foundations. Archaeological remains, they are internationally recognized as legacies of our past, and they should be protected, preferably in situ. There's less and less excavation. These heritage should be preserved into the ground for future generations. And we have, at the same time, new developments, and we should try out how we can integrate the historic city and preserving the archaeological heritage, at the same time building new cities and adapting for climate change. And they do not necessarily conflict. They actually, the measures needed for sustainable water management may actually help to preserve cultural heritage, but that must be recognized. So yeah, you can do it like this in Brussels, building a building around another one. Okay, that's one way of doing it. It's something, a lot of things happening under the ground as well. Water balance and cultural heritage is extremely important, and it's very much highlighted in the work that we've done, that urbanization changes the water balance in many cities. We will have a reduction of infiltration by paved surfaces, more shallow infiltration and more surface runoff, less groundwater infiltration. In some cities, in other cities you will have more infiltration because of leaky sewages and leakage water mains. It's important to understand water balance in relation to what's there you want to preserve. So it's artificial water balance, increasingly more unbalanced due to climate change. So what is needed? Well, we need a holistic approach. We need to take everything into account. We've heard that before, but it includes a range of different disciplines, and that subsurface specialists need to be there. There are some international alarming examples where this is not being taken into account. We see damage to monumental buildings, archaeological heritage that is being lost because it's degraded by ingress of in the surface and groundwater lowering. And those things are visible for politicians. Oh, our World Heritage Site is degrading. We need to do something. What do we need to do? Well, often we need to look at least holistically and look at other processes influencing the preservation. So we need to understand natural and man-made subsurface environment. Jeroen, you already suggested how we could better do this, and I think our action has showed how we could improve in this direction. Because only if we do that, we can have long-term mitigation and management sites also of heritage. We need to take a lot of things into account. So this report, we came about that we divided this in three main themes within cultural heritage. One is about standing monuments and sites. One is about that what we find below the ground, archaeological heritage and preservation in situ. That's because it's European legislation. And then a special topic relating water and water balance to cultural heritage preservation, because it's such an important relationship. I will just show some nice photos for these examples. I'm not going into many details. So, Vondelpark in Amsterdam, sinking. It's pulling itself down. It's an historic park, very important. But what's not more important, there's some monuments in that. They were founded on wooden piles. They may rot if the groundwater level sinks. Along the Vondelpark, there are monumental buildings. This is the most expensive building in the Netherlands, 18.7 million. It was for sale in December. I noticed yesterday. It is founded on wooden piles. I don't know if they have checked the foundations here. I hope they did, because it may affect the value. It's important. This guy or lady, I don't know, found in Tunsberg, requires actually good preservation of this kind of heritage. Requires actually no water in this case. This is a bit difficult to see. This is a street in Tunsberg, and if you dig down the street a few meters below, you'll find the medieval street. A few meters below, and it's there. It should be preserved for the future. The main street of Tunsberg. If they're revitalizing the city center, they need to take into account how do we manage to preserve this. Well, they need to make infiltration systems to keep the groundwater level at a good state. This is Bergen. 800 years from 800 AD, an old former quay. This is a World Heritage Site. It's part of the World Heritage Site. It needs to be preserved, then it needs to be below the water table. Then you will need to discuss how can we do this. Well, amongst others, by applying sustainable urban drainage, applying infiltration systems that you will also benefit for climate change adaptation, for contamination control, these kinds of things. Multiple benefits. Another example is Venice. You find it in the report. It's a city built on a mud, and it's a heritage city. And you will find a lot of things under the ground that are important to know if you want to manage this city. Venice has another very interesting phenomenon. There's about 6,000 cisterns below the ground, filled. You don't see it. This is a courtyard with this nice infiltration system that is used for drinking water supply. That's in itself cultural heritage, and it's also being reused now, because formerly it was used for drinking water, but still it's going to be reused for secondary grey water purposes, for example. It's very interesting. You see, there are many of them. It's packed. So this is for 6,000 are there. So it's a legacy of history. So key knowledge gaps. We use the same structure as Ingelöf and Susie showed before. There are multiple benefits for using sustainable water management systems for climate adaptation, and these include heritage preservation support, but they are not recognized like that in many cities. So there is a knowledge gap in terms of awareness of the option to retrofit into climate adaptation measures in historic cities. You can do that and at the same time help preservation. There are technological knowledge gaps in terms of modifications to water management systems when they are actually applied in cultural heritage. In some cases you don't want water into the ground because it may damage heritage. In other places you want it. So you need to know what you're doing. And any basic as any new structure can potential damage archaeology, directly or indirectly, through water balance or just by digging it because it's on the wrong location. And it's a trade-off, and you need to require special attention and experience, and that does not yet exist. So, read the report, download it, get information. You will access it through our toolbox that will be explained more also today and tomorrow, I think. In our website, a lot of information. Thank you very much.
have any questions? Comments? Yeah?
Just a comment, in Vienna, in the center of Vienna, is a big cathedral standing on 20 meters of anthropogenic layer. And there's actually a church underneath, buried in this layer. You were able to go in there and stand on geology. And there were nice paintings on the walls, and they started to fall off. Okay. And there was the rumor that it was because of salt. They were salting the roads in winter, and that made these pictures go. And everybody said, "No way! This is the tourists going in." And only because they 2 years ago made a museum out of it and stopped the tourists going in. They can only look from the top inside. They've now stopped salting, and the pictures stay on the road, on the wall.
Yeah, it's a good example. I'm very sure that there are many cities that have very good examples here. So we should just collate them and put them in.